Hey guys, I have a 20-minute game on the board against a player rated 1131 from the Ukraine, and they've started with the English. So in the past I've played the Dutch against the English with f5, but now I'm kind of trying to combine my openings a little bit. So here we can play the Benoni going into the Benko Gambit. So the idea here is, okay, they'll play d5, and now we play b5. So the idea of the Benko is that you give up material, 1 or 2 pawns, in return for opening up space on this side of the board. So, okay, now I've got a queen there, but it's very easily parried. So I'm just going to play, I think, d6. I'm going to try and put my bishop on this diagonal, which, as you can see, is now pawn free. All of these pawns are now too advanced to do anything about that diagonal. Okay, so now he's grabbed the pawn. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play a6 now. Try and tempt him to take again. If he does, I might recapture with the bishop. And what that does is it effectively pins this pawn, right? So now if he wants to move the e-pawn, which clearly he does, because that d-pawn is now out on its own, right? I will take the bishop. So this is really important if you play the Benko Gambit, and if you want to do this tactic, you have to watch the e-pawn like a hawk. Don't just automatically go ahead and fianchetto that bishop and miss the move where he moves the e-pawn, because bishop takes bishop, king takes bishop. This rook is now stuck in there, and you should have some very good play. All right, so knight c3 defends the pawn, makes perfect sense. But I'm going to go ahead and do this. Okay, out comes the other knight. Still the e-pawn hasn't moved. So you can play this against c5, the English, and you can play it against the d5, the queen's pawn opening. Right, so you start by bringing out the knight, and then the idea is that, you see, very often when a player has played c4, they'll watch d4, they'll want to play c4 as well, and vice versa, because those two pawns together, it just makes a lot of sense. All right, so now he's fianchettoed the dark squared bishop in an attempt to protect his rook, which I get, although it has cost him a turn. So now the next moves would be to castle or to play knight d7. So there's no particular need to castle now. I'm still just watching this pawn. And then you can see I've got this open space on the A and B files is something that I may try and use later on in the game. Okay, I'd like to have a wicked bishop there. But the other thing is as well that if my knight moves, this knight is still going to be pinned because that bishop's actually undefended. Okay, now you see he's moved the e-pawn, so I immediately snatch the bishop off. So king takes or rook takes, doesn't matter. White is now going to be unable to castle kingside. And really, castling queenside is a pipe dream at this point. It's just not realistic. Okay, so now I'm going to castle. And I probably want to move this knight at some point. This knight can come here, add a second attacker to that pawn. I've got maybe queen a5, again pinning this knight. Queen a5 and then bring my knight out. Could be an idea. Or knight to here. Queen to here, then knight to here. Adding 2 attackers to there with this one pinned, right? Then my knight can capture, one of my knights can capture. Haha! What's the idea here? I'd like to play my knight to there and kick the queen away. But it would be... I don't think I like this trade, you see, and having to take back with the pawn. If anything... So I think the right thing to do now is to put a rook in line with the king. Not sure of the purpose of my opponent's move though, so I'd like to answer that question before we carry on. Why play this? Let's have a sip of coffee and have a think. Is he thinking of castling? It's the only thing I can think of. Could play e5 now. It's defended by pawn and rook. Pawn and knight. So if he captures en passant, I capture with the f pawn, kind of freeing up, opening up lines for my rook, or I just play rook e8. Let's play rook e8 first with the idea of e5. e5, e4. I think it's principle. Oh, he has castled. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, my rook's looking at that pawn. It's defended only by the knight. Oh, wow. Now this is looking really... I mean, basically, I think this is a strategic error on White's part. I would have said he probably wants to move his king and do a manual castle on the king side, because I've got these two open files here. Semi-open files. They've only got white pawns on, pawns that I can capture, right, which are only a soft barrier. Your own pawns are a hard barrier, right? You can't move through your own pawns. But here, I mean, there's lots of ideas now. Queen there, there. I really need to take out that pawn. I think that pawn's going to be the key to it all. This is defended now 3 times. Maybe I just need to bring my knights around. So, other question. If I could pick up this knight, for example, and pop him anywhere on the board, where would I place him? And I think that is the square. Next question, how does the knight get to that square? Well, he can go b8, a6, and that way, right? There, there. And if I can get a knight onto that square, happy days. The alternative is knight to there, right? Which is quicker, but is going to get captured along the way. So let's, or can I go via this way? No. No. Okay. Right, round comes the knight. Yeah? So this is a key thing, and this is an area where I think I'm getting a little bit stronger in chess at the moment, is in the middle game, a lot of people find themselves stuck thinking, what do I do? Where do I go now in the middle game? Well, it's all about improvement. You have to improve your pieces. And although knights, these horses are slow, heavy horses, right? If you can weasel them in towards the enemy king, they can control a lot of squares. They can be very powerful. And a knight on that square, I know, would be a real boon for me. It means I've got 2 attackers on that pawn. I'm also attacking the queen. Happy days. Right? So with that knight move as well, I forgot to check what changed. Not a fat lot, really. Not a fat lot. It means he's now got 3 defenders of that square, so he's quite well defended in the middle, right? And I'm looking at now where he's less defended, less well defended. So still the plan is this. In fact, we're halfway there. 2/3 of the way there. That's my idea. You should always have a plan, even if it's a crap plan. So here, you know, sometimes you have to say, okay, I'm going to do the right thing, even if it's slow. Okay, which is what I'm doing here. Okay, I'm going to do this now. I'm going to bring the knight in, might bring the queen in. Big bada boom, right? That is now defended twice. Ooh, okay, he's moved his queen. Right, ideas. Queen here now. So then I'm threatening knight takes that, if he can't capture, right? It also frees up this rook to come and join the party. So what's not to like? I've immediately got 2 attackers on that pawn there. So let's have a think about this. Let's say knight f takes d5. If he captures, I recapture, and my knight can return back to its lovely outpost there. But it also opens up lines for my bishop. And I don't think he wants to get rid of that bishop at all. At all. He doesn't want to do that, okay? So let's go ahead with this idea. Again, always the idea, move your knight closer to the enemy king. This takes. If he captures, he's a fool. Because that bishop is important. Why? Because it's guarding these key squares, right? I could drop a rook or a queen onto that square if he's lost his bishop, right? Right now I can't. So he mustn't trade bishops. He's traded bishops. Again, I think a strategic error. So now I'm looking at this, right? And this is where, you know, the understanding the point of an opening comes into play. Right? I said earlier on, we're trying to open up the A file and the B file. Right then, we have to proceed with caution here. He can't check me there, and he can't check me there. So the queen doesn't have any checks. I'm thinking E6 makes sense here. Just creeping up the board. Or Queen A4 now. Queen A4, he takes the knight. Queen takes A2, check. King's in check, has to move there. Queen here, king has to move there. Rook A2. The queen's here. The king has to move to one of these squares. I don't think there's a lot of point. Let's play E6 now, right? Keep the knight there, which is important because it's preventing the queen from going to that square and that square. Well, that square anyway, C3. So now there are no checks from the queen. That was my first concern, right? So now I'm thinking Queen A5, and boom. Well, what on earth was that? What is the point of that? That's far too slow. He can't get away with that. He cannot do that. Look at this evil knight now. I can even go in with a fork. I can threatening that. Yeah. So I said, open A file, open B file. Okay. And look where the attack is going on. The A and B files. Right. I can even bring my other rook over. And right now, look, material is equal, but white's got nothing. He's got absolutely nothing. I've got a lovely pawn structure, a full set of 6 here, right? Here's our, I mean, it's not bad, but look at this rotten rook here, bishops and rooks. I get my pieces mixed up. I'm not very familiar with this chess business, right? Rotten rook there. That rook's doing bugger all, yeah? The queen's out in the board, where it could be threatened. It's just a hideous, hideous situation. And this is why, you know, one reason why I love this Benko idea. I've even got, for example, knight C3 check. Let's think this through. Followed by that. Knight C3 check. Queen's not going to capture, so the king has to move. Got 4 squares. This one here is mate, so he can't do that. This one here, we're going to end up with queen there anyway. Both of these, I don't know. What's he going to do? What is he going to do? Whatever happens, he's lost, right? But this really is a kind of a picture-perfect Benko game. So I do recommend, definitely recommend the Benko Gambit, if you're a Gambit-y kind of player. It's taken a while, isn't he? The resign icon is next to the draw icon, mate. So I cannot find a way for him to get out of this. I can't see anything. Okay, that's not a bad effort. However, the defender of that pawn may find itself pinned very shortly. So that's decent, actually. Okay, now Knight C3 wins material, yeah? Knight C3, king has to move, I grab the rook. However, you might argue that my knight is actually far more powerful than that rook right now. It's on a nice central square, looking at some other nice squares. So I think rook e to b8 makes a lot of sense. That then actually allows me to capture this pawn. Queen takes, rook takes, pawn can't take because it's pinned. Might have ideas of capturing as well there, but This is my immediate threat. I do have this, and yes, it wins material, and yes, it's probably, you know, simplifying and almost certainly winning anyway. But I would prefer not to grind out a win, if possible. That knight is defending that pawn right now. So he did find the best move. It took him 2 minutes 15 seconds. Okay, has he got anything at all? I don't think he can move his knight. Oh dear. Okay, knight's now defending that square, and obviously it's attacking there. Right, thoughts are rook b6 defends the pawn, okay? But really, pawns are not my concern right now, okay? So thoughts of queen takes a4. Now this is actually pretty forcing, because I'm threatening to take the queen for free and pawn can't recapture. Other ideas like queen to there or there, with ideas of capturing on b7, force a trade of queens. Rook recaptures with check. That pawn's going to fall. That's also a plan. I can't play this now. There's no reason not to play rook b6. Or actually, wait a minute, queen b6. Hold on a moment. Queen b6 threatens that. Queen takes, rook takes, yeah, that'll do nicely. Now I have two major pieces lined up against the king. If knight takes pawn, queen takes knight. So my opponent here, I have to say, has been very compliant. Not only with making all the moves that I wanted him to make in the Benko, but in also making every strategic error, positional error that I've pointed out. Every move I've said he can't do, he's done, which is unfortunate. So now, I mean, clear threat here. Yeah, I mean, I'm happily giving up pawns right now because I've got major pieces lined up with that guy. And let's think it through. Queen takes, rook takes with check, right? King's gonna go here or here and try and hit the rook. Okay. So king. Oh. Right now. Can't capture that pawn, can I? Can he capture the pawn, Captain? Should I kick the knight away? Out of it. Get out of it. Could kick the knight away, but that is bringing my pawns closer to conflict with these pawns. He's trying, isn't he? He's having a go. He's having a go. Or like queen here. Try and trade off. Queen there, he takes a pawn. No good, he loses his queen. So that would be really, really forcing. Queen can't really go anywhere because I'm still threatened to capture that pawn. So I think that's really forcing. Queen there, what's he going to do? Takes. Rook takes. Now let's kick the knight away first. It's getting on my nerves, that knight. He can't take there. He can't go there, he gets captured. If he goes there, probably h6. Kick him again. Oh, but then he's looking at that pawn. So he might fancy that idea. Capturing that pawn with check. Could even just move my king up though. King there or king there. Knight here, king here. The queen can't check there or there. I just find right now, as I've got back up to around the 1500 mark, and I'm really wobbling around there again. It feels like I'm thinking half a move deeper than I have been thinking. And that really is the key to so much of this stuff, right? How far ahead do you think? Calculation. It's not rocket science. All the information is there. for the figuring out. So, king here now threatens the knight. And there is no check. Oh, you can take that with check. That defends the pawn and is okay, but it's retreating my knight. Okay, it does actually cover everything. The queen's then defending this pawn still. The knight's defending that pawn. Oh, actually, he's got queen and knight then on that pawn, isn't he? Huh. Maybe I just retreat the king. In fact, I don't even have to do that. Could I push the queen forward now and try and trade queens off? Think about this. I go there, takes, rook takes, say. Then he captures the pawn. Then I get that pawn with a big check. But there's no real reason to abandon that pawn. Or is there? Or do I just push the pawn? No, I can't do that because it's the only defender of the knight. So if he takes that pawn, the knight's going to be undefended, yeah? Alright, I'm going to do this. No, I'm not. I'm not going to do that. Knight takes e6 is actually more forcing because it comes with check. That's a pain. If I move my king here, he's got that, which comes with check, which is a pain. There, knight takes. Maybe I just move my king back here. Then he's got to move the knight back there and attack the pawn again. Yes. I don't really want to move this rook though, that's the problem. How do we crush him? Or just allow him to do that while I proceed with my plans. So if I go here, let's think it through. Takes with check, and I just like hide away in the corner. Then he's got a problem with his queen, hasn't he? I don't know, then the queen takes that. So we can't have this. I think I might have to move my knight. Can I move my knight with a threat? Knight here protects the pawn. Let's look at that. Knight there protects the pawn. Done. That will do. Yes, he's got two attackers on here, but it means taking his queen away from the defense of the king, right? The knight takes pawn, knight takes, queen takes, and then I capture this pawn with a huge threat. If he doesn't do anything, I'm going to push d5. And that will be horrible for him. So maybe he's almost got to do this. So he did find some really good counterplay there with the knight. I did say earlier on, I'm kind of looking for threats. What's he got? What's he got? Basically, he found what he had. So he's clinging on, isn't he? And that would just be really good for black right now. Obviously, he's not going to take with a queen. If he takes with that, I'll simply trade off the knights. And that's his only real attacking pieces now gone. And my king, I think, should be all right. I've got mobile rooks. My queen is in the vicinity. Yeah, if that pawn goes, okay. All right, panic over, everybody. Oh, check. Come with a check, look. Now, do I just play that? Blocks the check. Again, my pawns are pressing up. I can now start to threaten his knight. I don't see a problem. Do you see a problem? I don't see a. Rook's attacking. That's defended by the queen. I think he maybe h6 next, kick the knight back. It's got to go there or there. He can't go there because, oh no, that's pinned. Pawn is pinned. King h6, the pawn isn't pinned. Knight there, check. King back. He's cool. You're having a go, aren't you, pal? He's having a go. Look. I have this pawn now since he retreated the queen. I take. He takes. I take. Has to trade queens. Think about this. Take, and now we are controlling these squares, right? He grabs the pawn. No concern. I grab. Queen takes, rook takes. Now controlling these, the king must move to one of these two squares. It doesn't seem like a convincing win. How about d5? d5 is defended by the pawn. No, it undefends that pawn. Not too worried about that because I can just grab a pawn straight back here. h6 now. He's not going to play knight there. Let's kick the knight, make him think. I don't want that knight around my king. It's a nuisance and makes me nervous. This is a 2-14 game for me, so if I win it, I'm back up to 1500. I was an idiot this morning. Played a rapid game against somebody quite a bit lower rated. I was like 15-10, 15-15 or something like that. And I thought I would multitask at the same time. And made a very, very silly mistake. And I actually lost a piece earlier on, then I won a minor piece back, then I lost another minor piece, right? Like double blunders. Okay, now the knight's been forced to retreat, and I think the panic's over. I'm not worried about this. So the idea is rook takes a4, pawn can't recapture. There, there, there. Queen takes. Or is there? There's no benefit to this. I've got to defend that pawn, right? But if he takes this, he's got queen there. But it's not. He's not going to have time to do that, is he? Can't take now because takes. I lose a rook. How about c4? Pawn can't capture. Queen can. Well, let's go ahead with this move. Let's roll the dice and see what happens. I'm expecting rook takes d6, which attacks my queen. Then I'm going to go here and we are going to trade queens. Alright, now he's got to go here or here. Probably c2. Okay. And now let's reassess. Right, I'm a pawn up. I've got rook a2 with a skewer on the king, winning pawns and stuff later on. I'm worried about this, which is a fork. So I think that is pretty much forced. Rook here. King wiggles away. Oh, I can't go there. That's interesting. That is interesting. There, if I go here, is that checkmate? He's got two rooks here and I can't go there. So if rook here, I think I have to come back. Rook there. Oh, hello. Greedy. He's grabbed a pawn, hasn't he? It's actually sharp now. Okay. This is actually less of a threat in a way, because now he's not guarding that square. So material again is equal. Do I go greedy now? There, moves the king. King can't come here. So he's got three squares. Yeah, let's have a go. Let's have a punt. See if I can move my knight with check. So the king can't go there, for example. If I can harry the king around. See, that is a knight fork, right? So these are all the squares he can't go to. If he goes to the back, if he goes there, I'm going to, okay, right, blunder. And I'll pre-move the capture on the rook. Oh no, I won't actually, because he's likely to do this. In which case I have to do that. So don't pre-move when you've got 3 minutes on the clock. Jellyhead. Okay, he's realised he's going to fork. He's thinking, can I recapture? Can I threaten the rook there? But then rook here, and what's he got? Okay, rook there. Can't go there, there. He's going to go here now. All right. It's not on, is it? So if I take, he takes my rook, but then his king is trapped side of the board. I've got my knight here, which is under attack, and I can't go there. I could move back here with check. Let's do that. And then I'm going to move back here with check once he takes the rook. You have to take the rook. This has turned out really quite interesting. So back there with check now. He's probably going to move here, but he can't because I've got another fork. Okay. So he can't go there. He can't. That's another fork, and now he has lost a rook outright. Bit of time pressure, just leading to tactical errors. Wow! And now I'm in a very happy position because the king is actually trapped on the A file, right, by this rook. So now he's only got a knight, and he's got to try and get 4 pawns through, 3 pawns and a king. Okay, can't capture that pawn there. So let's just push on. Rollin', rawhide. Charlie the sea pawn, off on his journey. What? His plan is to go there, yeah? Okay, now Charlie's going to go there, and then I can grab that pawn for free because it's only defended again by the knight. Haha, okay, well I'll have that pawn. That's fine. This wins the knight anyway, and then I just dance through. Let's do that. Knight takes, rook takes knight. Still the king is trapped. Now he's got two lanes to play in. Alright, and let's come after G. If he pushes, takes, and it's winning. Now you can resign. I mean, this is one of those situations where you really can just resign. Now I've got this. Comes after the rook, I'm just going to go there. And, okay, maybe he's one of these non-resigners. There's a whole religion out there, people who just never resign. I've resigned a lot of games recently, and I'll tell you for why. So yesterday, I did like a spree of just trying to work on, now I have to concentrate because we don't want stalemates, do we? Everybody, okay, and that's me. Interesting. Yeah, so what I did yesterday is I played a lot of games, and I was working on my opening theory notes for my repertoire. So if I got E4, E5, we had a Vienna, and so on. So what I did was I was just doing a series of custom 10-minute unrated. And I'd get lower rated players, I'd get higher rated players, I got 1700s and 500s and whatever. And I'm just practicing my repertoire, okay? And then trying to finish the game off. But if I got in a bad position, I'll just resign, because it's unrated, don't matter. Just resign, hit game report, figure out where did I go wrong, update my notes so I don't go wrong in future. Okay, so there you go. Interesting little one. Back to 1500. And that is the introduction that you need to the Benko Gambit. Very nice little opening. But I thought my opponent really did dig very deep and came back well into that game. So full credit to vs.1131. So yeah, maybe you want to try the Benko out for yourself. I do recommend it. It's lots of fun. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.